Wow, Marlon, that was an excellent tag. Uh, Now that I think about it, tag. Yeah, that really hits the nail on the head. The tag that you just created, and I must say, It really makes me think about the choices I made as a kid, or the choices I couldn't make as a kid. Back in the day, all of us kids, we had access to palm machines. In the Netherlands, we didn't have, in the homes, and we didn't have a lot of arcade machines out there. So video games were predominantly consumed through consoles, or in Europe more than in the rest of the world, on home computer systems. Um, Back in the day, my parents chose a Video Pack or an Odyssey 2 as a gaming system of choice, and um, because the game library on it was so much more limited than the Atari 2600 versions for a game, a lot of my friends actually dismissed the Odyssey as something, as something that was not as advanced or not as good as the Odyssey 2. But I kind of liked having that underdog type of machine, and I think that some of the games on it are actually superior than the 2600 games were. For example, the Pac-Man or the Casey Munchkin version. The Casey Munchkin is in its own right a great game, but having a much more limited amount of games for it, and back in the day, I actually saved up for a lot of the games myself. A lot of these games costed about 99 guilders, which was a huge sum of money back in the day, even for a kid to just acquire. And most of the games I got either through birthday presents, or saving up a lot of pocket money to be able to buy a game and stuff. And having such a limited amount of games at my disposal, it really made me play a game all over and over again. Really getting into all the nooks and crannies, and and now that I have been able to acquire a 2600 a couple of years back. I do see that the 2600 in its own right has a great library of games, and I did play the 2600 over at a friend's place, and I always saw the commonality, just basically having a system that allows you to play all these great games. And I was always very interested in technology, so I just didn't give a rat's ass if I, what system ran on what game ran on which system, or which system was the better. I always liked the differences between those systems. For example, back in the day, my parents got the Commodore 64, which was actually more expensive than the ZX Spectrum. But it was more well known, I guess, back in the day in the Netherlands. Actually, a shop owner probably talked my mom into getting the Commodore 64 over instead of the ZX Spectrum, and probably because of the keyboard. My mom actually wanted to get the machine for us to program on, and the Commodore 64 keyboard was a full travel keyboard, and it had more memory. Alas, the basic was less advanced because the ZX Spectrum had a huge, great basic, and it was faster actually. Regretting not owning a Spectrum back in the day? No. Was I a total Commodore 64 kid? No. Did I take part in the Commodore 64 version versus the Spectrum wars on? Oh, I've got a name on what is it, on the schoolyard? No, I didn't. Of course, in this day and age, you instantly have to respond to all sorts of mails that you get, and there's too much to. That's what happens, you know. Did I take part in any of these wars? No, because it was my expertise actually to know a lot about the different systems. I got to go visit friends' houses that owned MSX systems. I got to go to friends' places, or my cousin that owned an Amstrad CPC, and I marveled at all the differences and the similarities of these systems. And those were quite exciting times because you could see all these various systems coming into being, all striving to be better than the rest, and excelling at some points, and just, you know, failing at others. And I just love that. So, you know, whatever choice I made back in the day, I always knew that I could go over at a friend's place, or, you know, perhaps later on be able to experience the other games. And actually, that's what I actually ended up doing when I finished medical school, when I finished university. I thought, well, you know, it's time to earn a little money, and it was before I went into training. But I thought, you know, that's for me. That's a way to actually be able to obtain all these systems that I in the past wasn't able to obtain, and just, you know, marvel at them and explore them the same way as I would have I did my Commodore 64 and other systems back in the day. So when the PC era arrived, I mean, I thought the PC was just an amazing system because it looked and operated very similar to the MSX and the MSX-DOS that I was familiar with. And I actually bought myself a PC right in the last year of high school, I guess, or maybe the first year at university. I was still using my Commodore 64 a lot, and I got a Philips XT PC, and I was just amazed about the amount of memory and the speed at which it operated. But at the same time, oh yeah, and I just marveled at all these sound cards that became available, and different configurations, memory configurations, and different graphics cards that came out, all striving to be better, CD-ROMs that came out. I really was into that type of hardware thing, and, you know, always making choices. I had a Sound Blaster, I had a Gravis Ultrasound. There were a lot of people that had different cards, and I really liked that. But then, over time, the PC market became this gray box type of thing, and basically every PC right now is identical. And well, of course, there will be a lot of people claiming otherwise, but, you know, to me, it all became very similar. You know, buy a high-end NVIDIA graphics card, or buy a high-end AMD graphics card. Pop in one of the latest games, have a good processor, and, you know, you're up and running. And yeah, it's and also with the consoles back in the day, there were a huge amount of consoles striving to be better, and now you just have the PlayStation and the Xbox, and yeah, the Wii you have on the side, and of course you have a whole plethora of handhelds. But for some reason, yeah, I always end up getting them all. But for some reason, the old systems, the old 8-bit systems and their differences were actually what made me tick. And I am actually focusing a lot of these on these old 8-bit systems and trying to get access to some of those systems that I don't have yet. And just explore them for what they are. And So yeah, I mean, it's. I think it does shape your history. I mean, I mean, I had my own Commodore 64. I saved up for a 1541 disk drive, and it did shape my history. You know, I was exposed to some games that weren't available on the other systems, and at the same time, I was exposed to other games that were available on the other systems. But there were some demo groups, I did some hacking, I did some machine code programming, and yeah, that did shape me, shape my experience as a gamer and as a computer enthusiast. I mean, being exposed to the SID chip, the Commodore 64 SID chip, I mean, that's a unique sound system. And it sounds totally different than any other system out there. I mean, most 8-bit systems had some sort of three voice or 4 voice audio system, and could produce various waveforms. But the SID chip, with being able to modify the attack, the sustain, the release, the gain, the waveforms, and combining waveforms, it really was able to output quite a fantastic sound. And even to this day, I think the Commodore 64 SID sound is actually one of the best sounding chip tune producers out there. So a lot of my videos actually feature Commodore 64 chiptune music, because I'm just a fan of that. And so yeah, it shaped me, and I don't care. It's okay. I did play a lot on the ZX Spectrum as well, and I also ended up programming the ZX Spectrum. I played a lot of games. We actually ended up with one. We played a lot of games. I ended up preferring the Gamston joystick interface over the rubber keys. And I guess, I mean, with my experiences on the system, I mean, even though it was not my dominant system, but I had no real preference, and I would go back and forth over all these systems. I guess knowing the limitations of the Spectrum back in the day and now, I am able to see the system for what it is, and enjoy it for what it is, very much in a similar way as the people who just had access to a ZX Spectrum back in the day were able to, I think. I was never a fanboy, nor will I ever be a fanboy of any system. I'm system agnostic, but there are games and there are systems. There are games for systems that I ended up buying a system for. I mean, what is it? Maximum RD just did a tag video that I responded to. So, and I guess that's the reason why I have all these systems, because there's always specific games on specific systems that, you know, I happen to enjoy. But you see, I mean, even with the modern systems, I mean, a game like Soul Calibur, I got that on the PlayStation 3, but it wouldn't surprise you that I actually got all Soul Calibur games. I got it for the Dreamcast, I got it for the GameCube, I got it for the Xbox, just because of the differences and the similarities. And even now, Assassin's Creed, I've got that for the PlayStation 3, but here's the Xbox 360 version. Why? I'm not sure, but I got this cheap, but yeah, I'm system agnostic. Probably I'm demented for getting this game on both platforms. I did actually, and I do actually end up buying games for the Wii that I have on these systems as well, the Xbox and the 360, just because I want to explore how they are. And I tend to like the underdog machine, the machine that is, and I'm doing a video and wifey comes in. Yes? I'm doing a video response. Oh, you're not in the video, but you wanna... I'm just doing an open tag. Do you want to leave? I'm coming down to have a sip of... to drink something. Okay, that was wifey. I totally lost the track of what I was talking about, but well, I guess that's just gonna be my video response. Wifey wants some attention, so I'm just gonna stop. Mark is signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon. And yeah, it's a bit boring watching me. Perhaps when I edit this video, I'll put up some pictures of the systems and the games I'm talking about. Marlinlee, great open tag, and this is my response. Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon.